Hey guys, welcome to episode 2 of Cope Stories. Thank you so much for joining me, and today I'm going to have a conversation with one of my favorite yoginis who I've met through my classes, and I think I say this time and time again, but the people that you meet on this journey is what makes this journey so amazing and so special, because you're constantly surrounded by people that inspire you to continue to be really good to yourself and everyone around us. So welcome to Cope, Saara.
Thank you.
And Saara's going to tell us a little bit about herself, what she's been going through. I didn't even realize, we've just been chatting for a little while, I didn't even realize some of the things that she's told me, and I've known her for quite a while now. So without further ado, hi Saara.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being here today. So Saara has a normal job, you know, she goes to work, like a lot of us do. Well, not me anymore, but I'm going to have her share her story a little bit with us. Go for it, Saara.
Where do I start? Right
at the beginning.
At the beginning. So my family have been in the UAE for quite a while. I'm originally Chinese, and my mother and my father married over here in Dubai, and my mother married very young, so she moved from Shanghai, and she was this beautiful actress who wanted to become a star. So when she came to Dubai in the 1980s, I think it was a massive shock for her, especially at 18 years of age. So she had my brother and she had myself, but I think that she still felt lost. She was still looking for something. Sometimes I think back and I'm like, am I like my mom? Is this why I feel lost sometimes? So she made the decision to actually leave. And so she left my family. She left my brother and myself behind, and I think it must have been so difficult for her. And I think the way my family tried to cope with it was basically try to erase her out of my life. They didn't know, or just have her there, but not really speak about it. She was the unspoken thing in our lives. But I continuously received Christmas and birthday presents from her, which was lovely. And when I was 13, I was told that she actually took her life. So that was really hard at the time, but to be honest, a lot of it didn't even compute. Not because, I don't know, I was desensitized, more just because that's how my life was. My life was brought up with my grandmother, who's amazing. She's exceptional. And to be honest, if my grandma didn't bring me up, I wouldn't be the person who I am today. So zero regrets, and I'm not bitter towards my family. I think it was a really tough thing for my mom. She probably was scared of being rejected if she came back to the family, which she was apparently planning to do. And it's just tough for everyone, So I think I'm very empathetic for everyone who had to play. How do you tell a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old that their mom left, So no one's to blame, but it's tough. And I think growing up, it was tough being the only girl in my family, being surrounded by men, and very patriarchal, Arab and Chinese family, where they say, men are the best, women are too emotional, don't think like a woman, don't feel like a woman. So I grew up quite tomboyish, which I also like, it's cool. But not having that female figure, sometimes it was difficult, when you're trying to learn things about periods and how to put makeup on. I didn't have any of it. I had to learn it myself.
I think all girls remember the day that they got their period. I'm about to take it there. But what was it like for you? I remember I was in India, and all I could think was, holy shit, I don't know what is going on. I want my mommy. And I was about 16 years old, and it was just I cannot do this. I don't want to get old like this. This is really shameful. I don't know what is going on.
Oh my God, no way.
But what was it like for you?
Actually, mine wasn't too bad. I was the last to get it amongst my friends. I was really sporty, so I knew what was coming. I remember, so I had a really good friend who was brought up by a single mom, and I was basically adopted by them. And they had to teach me how to use a tampon, I remember. Sorry, this is too explicit, but I remember just going and I was like, guys, I forgot how to do it. And they're like, how can you forget? side note, everyone should use a Diva cup or a Moon cup because that's the best thing that has like revolutionized my life, and it's very sustainable and good for you and the body. And
I've heard about this. So no tampons anymore.
No tampons, no pads, no. I just use a Diva cup. So it's a silicone cup, which is reusable, and it's really good for like the environment, your pocket, because you're using less money.
Yeah.
And your body. It's better for your body.
I'm gonna have to check it out.
Please do. All the women, please do.
All right. So coming back to growing up. So tell me more about your aunt and how she played a role in what you kind of had to go through.
So at around 16, I was a tomboy and reading too many books. So what she did was she said, "Hey Saara, get out of Harry Potter and all these silly books. Here, read some magazines." And so I sort of, man, if I could change one thing in my life, I think it would be this. It would just be stop reading crappy magazines which tell you to diet and tell you to look a certain way. And so I was just consuming 6 magazines a week. And I think at that point, especially when you're 16 and very impressionable, and I had just started dating my now husband, I just felt this need to be perfect. And I said, to be perfect, I have to be skinny. And so I was already really skinny. I figure skated, I did ballet, I was very active. And I was like, I need to be skinnier. So I started like reducing my calories and kind of limiting what I could eat per day and controlling what time of day I ate, and over-exercise to make sure that I would always be in a calorie deficit.
I have to ask you this. So I think with people that go through addictions or eating disorders especially as well, we tend to fool ourselves into thinking that nobody knows what's going on. Did you think that your family didn't know, or did you think you were hiding it well, or did they all know but choose not to say anything?
I think what is so weird is that it's so normalized in our society now for women to be body conscious. So it was kind of like, oh, Saara's just being a normal woman going through trying to keep slim, etc.
But if you were at the table and you were refusing to eat, or I mean, were people picking up on this, like how little you were eating, or the fact that you were counting your calories?
No, so this is the thing. I think I was the person saying, "Hey, I think there's something wrong. This isn't right." So I guess I was mature enough to be like, to take a step back and look in third perspective. But my family, honestly, it's just because it's so normalized for women to go on diets. They just thought, oh, she's just on a diet, it's fine. So when I was very vocal about it, and I told my family, like, I want to see a therapist, this isn't right, I shouldn't be feeling or doing this, they were confused because they don't, from a very traditional background, when you go to therapy, it's like you're psycho, right? So I had to tell them.
Is that an Asian thing?
It's an Asian thing.
The West love therapists. It's like that comes with the territory of being like middle class, upper middle class. It's like everyone's got a therapist, and in our societies, it's like something you don't talk about.
Exactly.
You're ashamed of wanting help or seeking help.
Yeah, I think I'm a very vocal person, especially with my family. So if I had an issue, I didn't hide it. I was actually like throwing it out there. I'm like, guys, I think I never told them about.
And
making myself.
Who were you saying this to? Like, who were you talking to in your family about needing help?
My dad, even my brother, a little bit. I can't remember. To be honest, maybe I didn't even talk about it that much with my family. I think I just tried to handle it myself.
You just went, picked up the phone, made an appointment with a therapist, and walked into their offices?
Yes.
Okay.
I did it myself. Okay. So I was like 17, 18 the first time. I did it always myself, not because my family didn't want to help me. I think they just didn't know how to. So I remember like talking to my dad about, not eating this, eating that, and I would always be very strict with him. I'd be like, I can only eat this particular meal, and he would try and help me. He's so lovely. He's so sensitive, and he would say like, Saara, don't worry, you look so good. You're so beautiful. You're so skinny. Just enjoy life a bit. Just eat. So he tried to help. But I just knew that he couldn't, So I needed like professional help, or like someone that's seen someone who can give me guidance, I guess.
So how long were you seeing a therapist for, and is that something that you would recommend to people?
I think you have to definitely find the right therapist. My first therapist, I didn't find very useful, but it was a great space to just sit and talk to someone, even like right now, just to sit and talk to you about issues or problems that come up, and then it gives you time to like reflect and look in the third person. I mean, just look at yourself in third person. I went to London and I actually saw another therapist who specialized in eating disorders and body dysmorphia. He really helped me. So I really believe that speaking to people and understanding that that you are normal, that you're not this weird person with weird thoughts going through your head. That it's when I started reading his kind of, not manuals, but reading his help books and reading everything that he described to me, I was like, oh my God, this is exactly how I think. How did you know?
Can you tell me who that therapist was?
His name is James Lamper.
James Lamper, and he's got books out there that you can buy?
I think he has like free online resources. I don't know if he could have released a book now, but he works in London.
Okay.
It's awesome. He changed my life, to be honest.
So are there any specific techniques that you still use of his?
So of his, to be honest, it was more like mindfulness. I remember one thing I was telling him, that I used to impose really strict eating rules where I wouldn't be allowed to eat whilst I walk, because when I eat I have to be fully present. And he was just like, Saara, why are you creating all these crazy rules? And I was like, oh my God, you're right. I've just created the rule book that's, generated from my mind. So sometimes I try I'm still a little bit, not OCD, but like I like to sleep early, I like to have a routine, and that makes me happy. But sometimes I try and push my limits further. So I'll say, okay, it's okay. I'm eating at 10 p.m. today, and it's okay. Or I'm sleeping at 1 a.m. and it's okay. So sometimes like pushing myself past that boundary, I think we spoke about that.
Yeah.
Right?
I know, I'm the same. Yeah. But I also know that the body is happier when it's on a routine. But I'm trying to work on this on my own as well. Like not being so rigid with yourself that you're completely stopping yourself from living your life. Yeah. Because unfortunately or fortunately, we live in a world full of people. And not everyone can function on your time, at your time. So you have to be okay with just going with the flow a little bit. Yeah. And yoga has taught me a lot about doing that.
Definitely.
So what about you? When did you find yoga and how has it helped?
So I would say that another one of my coping mechanisms were finding dance and yoga. So that's when I was around 18. And yoga, honestly, for me, started off as get flexible. Oh, look, I'm really flexible and I'm really good at yoga. So it started off with the body. And I started to suddenly feel the effects. I remember the first pigeon pose, and a lot of emotions are stored here in our hips. My first pigeon pose, I would just be addicted to that feeling of letting go. And I think...
Did you cry, or what was it? Did you just feel a release in your hips, or what was it?
I didn't cry then, not at the start. I cried after my first yin class. That was in India when I was in 2014. So for me, it was just this feeling of I had no idea that my body can feel this way, and it affected me emotionally, and I wasn't sure how. So in 2014, I went to India. I decided to do my teacher training course, and of course that was life-changing as well, because that deepened my practice into something that was less body-focused, into something more meditative, more something that touched my soul,
And what was it that brought you to yoga? Was it a friend, or was it your boyfriend at the time, or why did you walk into a yoga class?
I had this awesome teacher at my university gym, and I was just addicted to her classes. She was an awesome teacher, and like you say, you always meet people throughout your life who kind of come and go and give you beautiful things to take away with you. But it was just her beautiful practice, and honestly, like I said, it just started off as an exercise practice and to stretch, and because I used to lift quite a lot and do a lot of weight training, so it was just to do that. But she really made me think more deeply about what yoga is,
So has yoga, because I know that yoga has really helped me with my the way that I look at my own body. And I never thought that I would actually take my top off, and take pictures in my bra top, that kind of stuff. I never, because I've always been uncomfortable about my belly, always.
Really?
So I never thought I would do that, but now I do, and I do it more frequently, like changing rooms that are open. Is never something that I was comfortable with.
Really?
So I think yoga has played a huge part in making me understand that I'm beautiful the way that I am, and being okay and making peace with my strengths rather than my weaknesses. So what about you, and what has yoga taught you about you?
What's really awesome, it's taught me the inverse in a way, because I used to be very skinny, very toned. Now I'm like a little bit, I'm not fat, but I have rolls, and that's okay. And so even when I'm stretching and doing Paschimottanasana, bending forward, trying to touch my toes, and I have my belly in the way, I'm like, it's okay, just move a bit, and I shove it out, and then I go into my pose. And I think I now look at my body as I'm really grateful for the ability to walk, to breathe, to see, and that's what yoga has taught me. So I'm like, I'm not just this body trying to be skin and bones. Like, I function, and I can stretch, and I can be limber.
And you can feel.
And I can feel. So that's honestly, for me, yoga has taught me to like accept all the imperfections, and I'm like, okay, it's okay that you're like that. It's all right. You're
awesome.
Good. Yeah, that was cool.
I think for me, vinyasa flow, especially in the time and the age that we're practicing it now, has such a overlap between, there's such an overlap between yoga and calisthenics and gymnastics and capoeira and tai chi and movement, and there are so many practices that are kind of, sort of overlapping with each other, that I have started to explore contemporary dance a little bit as well, and I love it. Like, I think that there is so much freedom, and there is no asana. So it's a step away from practicing yoga and just allowing the body and appreciating its movement in a different form. When did you find dance, and how does it help, and how is it different from what you feel in your yoga practice?
So there's so many different types of dance as well. So could you repeat the question? What was it? How did
so you said contemporary dance was quite quite an important thing for you too, and I just want to understand how it helps, how it helps you cope, and how is it different from your yoga practice?
So for me, dance, when people tell you where they feel most at home, dance, I just lost every sense of who I was, but in a great way. Like, I just felt at home. When I danced, it's really losing a sense of self. I wonder if, and when you go into real yoga practice, sometimes you feel like you lose your sense of self, because you're so deep in the practice, you're so deep in the movement, that you just blend. So for me, I think I really found it doing contemporary hip hop, which is like a blend between the two, but more hip hop styles, because I was brought up doing figure skating and ballet, which I was very awkward. It was very rigid. I was very awkward on the ice, and I was just very awkward. I just didn't feel free. So going to London, experiencing different types of dance, I just had great fun. That was the end of it. I had great fun. I kept fit. I made great friends. It was the best 4 years of my life whilst I danced. I think it's different to yoga because, yoga for me is very self-reflective. It's very calming. So it just serves a different purpose, for sure. I used to practice Ashtanga a lot. It used to be my main kind of preferred practice because of how strict it was, and it's like playing the scales in music. It was like your foundation, and I loved that. I love that control, but that's linked to like my more kind of, I don't know, the eating disorder type of behavior. And I think now I'm more of a vinyasa person. Like you say, I appreciate, the entire looseness.
It's a dance of a different sort.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I appreciate Ashtanga for what it is, and it's taught me a lot, but I don't think it serves me the best. So I always question myself, what do I want to do today? Do I feel like dancing? Do I feel like letting loose? Do I feel like going to yoga? What are my goals for today? And it's not all just to lose weight.
Yeah, and I think it's an important thing that you bring up about listening to your body. I don't think I have been, this year especially, I don't think I've been as aware of how I feel or even allowed myself to really reflect on that as I do today. Like, it's just, even when I sit down to meditate, it's the most important question that I can ask myself. How are you feeling? And it's the most calming question for me to ask as well, because I feel like the body just yearns for you to ask, because we're so driven by the mind and about achieving and about things like losing weight or becoming more flexible or becoming stronger or needing to hit a handstand, that we forget that we're trying to do this as medicine for our body and our soul. We're not doing this to kill ourselves on our mats and prove to other people how awesome we are.
Yeah.
So I think that's such an important thing that you just touched on.
I think I always try to communicate this, especially to people when they're young. They're all like, yeah, let's just smash out 5 cardio sessions and 5 HIIT training sessions. I'm like, guys, you need to condition your body. You need to take care of it. And the only reason I found that is because of my injuries. You know, so I don't want people to face the same problems of not taking care of their bodies and their minds, because there's a huge disconnect if you don't pay attention, if you don't ask yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. But I think part of the reason why people come into things like contemporary dance or dancing and yoga is because you're finding, you're searching, you realize that there is a disconnect. There is a disconnect between what's going on in your head and what you're feeling in your body, and you're kind of like looking for that connection or something to make that connection for you, so you can start living in your own body again.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think it's when you engage with your body, you kind of come to one with it. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, even for me, my practice has slowed down so much because I want to really live in the postures. I don't want to rush through them, because each and every posture, again, is like medicine.
I've noticed that actually, through your classes.
Slowing down.
Yeah.
Because if you remember, my classes used to be like, come on guys, let's go. And, and it was almost like I was trying to be a popular teacher rather than teaching you the things that you needed to learn, like slowing down, for example. We go fast enough as it is. You don't need any more speed. You need to slow it down, hit the brakes, and take a moment, and actually take a longer shavasana, which I need to start doing for myself as well. So
I noticed it, but I don't think I think it depends on your mood too. But like you say, it's like listening to your body, listening to everyone else's body in a room. And I think that's another reason why, not that I'm a little bit scared to start teaching, it's because you're so responsible for all the people in the room and how they feel, and it's very, I don't know, it's a huge responsibility.
It is a huge responsibility, but I also think that it's a skill you develop, and the more you're able to look at people in the room and pick up on their energies and help them appreciate what they're doing, it helps you appreciate more when you practice yourself as well, I think.
100%. I think I definitely need to go there. I have taught a few classes.
I would love for you to teach, because I cannot wait to come to your classes.
Soon.
Cool. So we've talked about yoga, we've talked about dance, and where do you go dancing here in Dubai?
I go to 2 studios mainly. The first is Sharmila's. She is opening a studio in September, and she does everything. God, she's awesome. Contemporary. She's ballet trained, but just contemporary, ballet, hip hop. She is a personality. She's a star. And the other person is UJ. He teaches at Diverse, and he honestly is the best hip hop teacher I've ever had. So he's bringing me back my life after all these knee injuries.
That's amazing. I need to come and hang out with you for sure.
Yeah.
I used to do I was going through a period in my life when I lived in New York for a couple of years, and I found
Broadway Dance Center?
I don't even know I can't remember the name of it, but it was I went to hip hop class like 5 times a week, and the lady that was teaching it, she was a cancer survivor.
No way.
And she had just like this joy for life, and that was honestly the only thing that I was probably on my way into depression. But that was the only thing that kept me out of it. I used to go dancing 5 times a week.
No way.
Yeah, I loved it. But I need to
find it now again.
Yeah, well,
100%.
I go to this place that Marina, my friend, introduced me to, a contemporary dance place in Al Circal Avenue. I've been there. Yeah, I've been there a couple of times. So I have such an appreciation, and they're starting to do like capoeira and stuff there as well. So more stuff like that, I think, in my future. I just want to come back to your disorder for a moment, like your eating disorder for a moment. I find that for me, now that I know in my own body, there was times during the month like times when I'm getting stressed, obviously, but there are also times in the month, like when I'm nearing my period, where I feel these urges. I feel these urges to, because I'm feeling fat, and I'm feeling like whatever I wear feels really tight, and I'm just uncomfortable in my own skin, that all I can do, honestly, like being really real, all I can do is think about like going home, binging the crap out of lots of ice cream and chocolate, and purging it. And that will make me feel better. So obviously I don't do that anymore, but I have those thoughts. And I was wondering, as a person that's kind of rehabbed themselves out of this kind of behavior, how do you, like, does that stuff still come up for you, and how do you cope with it?
So to be honest, I don't think I am fully over it. I don't go into like full-on binges. So when I was younger, I used to just go to the fridge and eat everything. But I used to binge on healthy things, which is weird, but just overeat. But I think it's just that entire behavior is not healthy. I mean, at the moment, I still think I'm I don't want to say control because that's negative, but I'm not in control of understanding what my body wants and what my body needs. And sometimes I just give it, you know? So I think for me, it was trying to go from a state of too much rules, and now I'm in a state of too little rules. So I still go into quite a negative cycle of, I ate too much. You know, I'll go and eat too much, and then I'll complain to my husband after, like, I ate too much. And
But is eating too much for you like a normal amount for other people, or are you still watching calories and watching how much you eat?
No, so no more calorie counting, none of that anymore. It's just based on how I feel and feeling full. And like you said, I crave healthy foods in general. Like I crave good vegetables, and I just love desserts. That's the only issue, I would say.
It's
but
not
it's
an
not
issue.
an issue. No, not an issue. I mean, I think it's just portion control, and I think it's having a healthy attitude towards food. So I think right now my coping mechanism for it is not putting too many rules and letting my body. Man, around my period, I'm like, oh, why am I craving chocolate so much? I'm like, this is why. And I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, I'm gonna eat chocolate. And I think I don't binge where I'm like eating 5 bars of chocolate anymore. I'll give myself the bar and I'll bloody enjoy it.
I think that's important, because in terms when you're binging and purging, it's like you put so many restrictions on yourself that you just lose control and you go crazy.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just allow yourself the moderate amount and you really enjoy it, I mean, that satisfaction just takes you through, and you're not continuously craving more.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah. And I think it's just regulating it, like you say, like don't starve yourself one meal because you ate too much the last meal, because that never turns out well. So that's another way I try and cope with it. I'm like, eat regularly, eat well, and don't go too little or too over. I don't know, for me intermittent fasting never worked, because I just thought about it, and all I could think about was food, and it made it worse. So I just thought, let's have a beautiful, natural approach to eating, and that is the best way to cope with it, honestly.
So dancing and yoga, are there any other practices that you have for yourself that continuously, as you said, you kind of look at your body and what it can do, and you develop an appreciation for it? Are there any other practices that you think you want to share with people out there that you think might be helpful for people going through what you've gone through?
I used to go for a lot of walks. That was the best thing. And even now, you'll find me in Dubai Mall, so I work very near Dubai Mall. So I'll be walking around there with my, like a podcast or music, and just walking and thinking. I love walking. And that was you kind of go into a meditative state doing that. I also meditate, and I say this because I've only been meditating consistently for like the past 2 weeks. But it's no less, it's still consistent. So I use an app called Headspace. Headspace. Yeah. It's a very good app. I really like it, and they have a lot of different packs. So actually, the first pack I finished I think it was for eating. So being more mindful eating, that was the pack name. Now I'm doing one on rehab.
Mindful eating. That was the name of the pack that you actually used for your meditation practice.
Correct.
That's awesome.
So it was 10 sessions of that, and then you can move on to the next pack. And I chose rehab because I'm going through a lot of rehab for my knee.
Wow.
And
I mean, what does it like? Tell me a little bit about the mindful eating one. What did it kind of bring your awarenesses to, and like what is the meditation about?
To be honest, like It's quite a general. I love the way, I think his name is Andy. Yes, it's Andy, who's this dude who basically created this entire app, and he takes you through the general guidance of how to meditate. He does different techniques. For the mindful eating, it was just, he takes you through the breath, takes you through understanding how you feel, what you feel, so just being present. For the rehab one, he's doing a technique called noting, where he says, think about the area which you're injured and kind of shine a light there and let that light increase in size. So more or less, they all follow the same kind of practice.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. That's really, really amazing. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for coming in and talking to me. I think you're such an amazing soul, and I think the fact that you actually kind of pushed me to start this, so thank you so much for doing that. And I cannot wait to take one of your classes. I think it would be such a soulful and amazing experience, because you've gone through something, you've lived through something, you've helped yourself out of someplace hard, and I think that always makes for a really amazing teacher, and that makes you really resilient and really compassionate as well. So thank you so much for being brave enough to share your story. I really appreciate it, because I know it's not easy to talk about this stuff, but trust me, everyone who's listening is going to be so grateful. Thank you so much for being here, Saara.
Thank you.
I love you.
I love you too. This was awesome. I can't believe it was just a message that inspired you to do this. It's awesome.
Well,
so
as I said, it's the people that you meet that will take you places. So thank you for being in my life.
Thank you so much, Neha. Always inspiring me. Thank you.
I love you.
Love you too.